As a Christian, I believed that the story of Job only happened to people that deserved it. And although I know that that is true, I know it from a whole different perspective. I believed when the Bible said that God and Satan were having this little conversation, and God said, "Have at it, big boy. He's all yours." I truly believed that there was a God in the sky that said, "Yeah, I'll hand you over one of my children to torture them." Of course I would. I mean, I love them more than anything, but I love watching them be tortured, so spare his life, but do anything you want to with him. And then that same Bible said, "I have not given you a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, love, and soundness of mind." I'm so confused. I'm in this world, but I'm not of this world. I am to love you and to trust you as a loving God that does only good to me. And yet you're willing to hand me over to the one person that would torture me and take everything from me, just spare my life? I'm a little bit confused. Or at least I was until I went through my awakening. And now I know that that story has a whole different perspective, one that brings me the peace that passes all understanding. First, I'll give you my perspective based on my experience. Going through this awakening opens up doors, sets you free, because when you know the truth, you will be free. When the Bible says that Satan had approached God and said, "Give me Job. Let me have at him. He won't serve you if you give him to me." God didn't say, "I'm all that in a bag of chips. He's going to serve me regardless." God's not prideful. That wasn't a conversation between a demon and a higher power. That was a metaphor for what happens within. We are energy beings, and we have the access to our mind of Christ and the lusts of the flesh. The thoughts that we receive that belong to our higher self, and then the thoughts of fear that belong to this world. Because energy always resonates at a specific frequency, our thoughts are not our own. We are simply receiving those thoughts based on what we give our attention to. In the story of Job, the very end, that's the key. Job said, "The thing I feared the most has come upon me." The thoughts between Satan and God were actually the thoughts between fear and faith. Job chose fear. And because he chose fear, then he received everything that aligned with that fear. When the Bible says that we walk by faith, not by sight, it means it. Whether we like it or not, whatever we believe is true, we will receive that, even if it's not something we like. How else do we have control over our reality other than our faith? Because our faith makes us whole. Even Jesus said that. God did everything and said, "It's all yours, guys. Have fun and play, and your faith will create your reality. And you will get what you believe, and you will see that you are in control simply by your faith." Job experienced this firsthand. He had more faith in fear than he did in abundance, and therefore he experienced everything that he feared. Let me show you exactly what that looks like with quantum physics. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Through him all things were made, and without him nothing was made. And this octopus is a perfect example of how this universe works. This body of the octopus is the non-physical high-frequency energy that condensed itself into a low-frequency energy in order to take shape and form. Each one of these lines is a representation of a station or a frequency in which we can tune into, and we will receive things based on that station. This red line will be the station of fear, purple line, the mind of Christ. When Job was resonating at the mind of Christ, he believed he could have everything, and therefore he did. This is why he lived in abundance, because he was aligned with the mind of abundance. As he became attached to his physical things, slowly but surely he drifted into fear. Fear of the loss of the things that didn't truly belong to him, because all is one. But the ego would like to see separation, because from the highest perspective, you can see that everything is created from the same substance. Science calls it energy. Energy is the only thing that cannot be created or destroyed. Why? Because it is the thing we call God. It cannot be created because it is the only thing that exists, and it cannot be destroyed because it would not destroy itself. Existence is and always will be. When Job began to see separation, he began to fear that his abundance would leave him, when truly abundance is who he is as a whole. As he aligned with fear, he began to receive all of the thoughts on this station. He also began to receive all of the things on this station. You see, if Job had stayed aligned with faith and abundance, trust, and knowing who he truly is, versus seeing himself as a separate entity, he never would have had a reason to doubt and be in fear. On this timeline, the mind of Christ, everything was his. When he received the thoughts of fear, he gave them attention. He allowed them to stay, and he slowly but surely tuned into the timeline where everything that he feared, he experienced. I didn't have to go through the awakening to know that God wasn't the bad guy. I always knew that we were simply reaping what we sowed. I didn't, however, know that our thoughts had a huge reflection upon what we were experiencing. But our thoughts create our actions, and our actions create our world. When we get in fear, whatever thoughts that we are receiving, we begin to respond to those fear-based thoughts. We align ourselves with the frequency of fear, and therefore everything on that frequency we begin to experience, because we are in control. We walk by faith. When God says, "It is finished," he meant it. The power is yours. You get to choose your reality based on the thoughts that you give your attention to, the thoughts that create the actions, because you are the creator experiencing creation.